Welcome back.
Back to you, Jim.
Who's Jim?
I don't know.
Welcome back to Sacred Blend Podcast or something like that.
It's been a while.
It's like episode 5. I don't know. Like I said, it's been like a year since we recorded.
I don't remember where we were at. Yeah.
Let's jump right back into the thick of things.
Do we have to reintroduce ourselves? It's been a while.
Sure. For the 5 people that have watched our videos.
Wow, that's a high number.
Oh.
Good for you.
I'm Coty.
Amanda.
And awesome.
Okay.
You want to introduce today's topic?
Are we going to talk about that one?
No.
Oh, you want
one.
the long one?
Yeah.
The long one. Yeah.
So,
today we're
the podcast episodes. It's going to be longer, so we have to.
Are you okay with it?
Unfortunately.
Okay. All right. Today we're going to talk about building intimacy through better communication.
That doesn't sound like AI wrote it at all. What?
Why did you have me do it? If you're going to critique everything. I'm going to start with that one.
We're going to talk
about...
Skip
the criticism.
Assertiveness and active listening and all that.
Not.
Oh, we're not talking...
That's
what I was asking if it was on the thing.
Not this one.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it talks about speak honestly and kindly.
That'll be its own thing then. All right. Let's do the thing.
Practice active listening. That is on here.
But not assertiveness? It's only one-sided.
I mean, it says, speak honestly and kindly. So that's kind of
okay. We'll
out the good.
We'll do our own thing. So, let's do this.
Own thing.
Have my own thing. So
part of it.
10 steps to a successful communication marriage thing. Go.
I like it. I hope that your title for this is 10 steps to a successful marriage thing.
Communication thing.
Oh, communication thing.
That's right. Trademark.
That's so long. Okay.
Go ahead.
No, you start.
Oh, okay.
No,
so let me read what AI wrote for us. Number 1.
I'm done. I'm so done. If you're going to keep doing that,
what?
You can write it yourself.
Okay. I won't. So, number 1.
Her name is Gina.
No, it's not. It's Sam Altman's baby.
Yeah, who's that?
Well, he was the CEO of OpenAI. I don't know if he is anymore.
Yeah, his baby's name was Gina.
Okay.
Okay, anyways, be fully present. You want to talk about the background behind this one, or you want me to just say what it says?
You can read this and then we could talk about it because we actually do have experience with that.
So being present with each other says you matter to me, and we need to give each other the gift of undivided attention. That means put the phone down, turn off distractions, and look each other in the eye. And the verse for this one is James 1:19. Be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry.
I knew I was going to choose that verse.
Well, I don't.
No, but
I mean, somewhere it was going to be in there. Yeah.
I was like, it's going to be the quick to listen verse.
Do you have a better one?
No, but I always loved that. Like one of my favorite verses is James 1:17. I don't know what 1:18 is. It's the every good and perfect gift comes from your Father of heavenly lights.
Well, now I want to look up 18.
Shadows. Yeah, I'd be curious to know what 1:18 is. Anyway, I said put the phone down. So what are you doing?
I'm looking up James 1:18.
So we could talk about this because this has been an issue or created issues for us. What does it say? He
chose to give birth to us by giving us his true word, and we, out of all creation, became his prized possession. I'm a prized possession.
That's true. You're a treasure.
National
treasure.
A national treasure.
And I'm going to steal you. Like the Declaration of Independence.
Yep.
4-7. Wait, that's spaghetti.
That's not.
So anyway.
I don't know where we're going with this. It's so much fun.
Put the phone down.
Yeah.
Turn off distractions and look each other in the eye.
There's good stories about this.
I don't know about good, but.
We have terrible stories about this.
For the longest time, I would talk to my wife and she would hear what I was saying, but I didn't feel like.
We have a routine. Like, you would come home from work and we would check in with each other. But I'm a multitasker. So it's not that I wasn't listening.
No, I said you heard me, but you weren't listening.
Yeah. It's not that I wasn't listening.
Oh, okay.
No, I wasn't listening. I multitask. So I feel like if my attention is only on one thing, I'm wasting my time. So you really had to be patient with me to break that.
And so I would come home and it just kind of hit me one day. Like I was trying to talk to my wife. She was on her phone and the TV was playing. And I'm talking to her and I know she can hear me, but it didn't feel like she was actually listening. Because I mean, hearing is passive, but listening is active. So, you can hear somebody and even repeat what they say, but that doesn't mean that it actually set in because listening is like being intentional, right?
I would do that. Yeah. Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah. And so I flat out told her one day, I was like, look, I get that you're hearing what I'm saying, but it feels like you're not listening to me. And when when you're looking at your phone and you're not looking at me, I feel like what I'm saying to you doesn't matter. And so we had that conversation, and to my wife's credit, like she took that to heart and really kind of made that change. So I mean, now it's like a lot better. And maybe you could tell them the result of that because I think it's also worked better on both sides.
I was going to say it's for both of us because we both have the tendency to just walk in the room and start conversations with each other. And if the other one is in the middle of something, we still expect them to be involved in that conversation. And we had to be like, hey, I'm in the middle of this. Let me finish it or put it down so that we can have this conversation and I can be present in the conversation because it did make a big difference once we started actually speaking to and hearing each other.
And you feel valued.
You feel
Like,
heard.
and yes. And I think now we'll say, okay, if we're in the middle of something, we'll tell the other person, hey, let me finish this up and then we can talk so we have that undivided attention. I guess it's kind of a side note, but one thing that we'll do is we'll go for walks. Like I'm sure we'll cover that in other videos or whatever. But we will go for a walk around our block where it kind of gets us separated from all the distractions of the house, of the kids, of whatever else is going on. So we have that time where we're being active, but also we have that time away from everything. So we have that undivided attention. So that has also helped us, not just having the one-on-one conversations, but also kind of breaking away from the noise of the cast, even if it's 10 minutes, having that conversations or the time to have the conversations has really helped us. So
yeah.
Yeah.
You good on that one?
Yep.
Okay. You want to do the next one?
I can't read it, to be
okay.
honest with you.
All right. It's because you're not wearing your glasses.
I'm not, because they reflect. You don't have a choice.
No, because I'm blind.
I just wear them to be cool.
If I didn't have them on, I'd look like a weird deer in the headlights kind of look on my face.
Squinting and everything.
No, my eyes would be all like big trying to. All right. Call out the good. Speak life over each other. Make it a habit to praise the things you admire and appreciate. What we water grows, so let's water the good stuff. I kind of like that. I want to make it as a t-shirt or a bag.
It'd probably sell to white Christian women.
I want to put it on a planner. Okay. Therefore, encourage one another and build each other up. 1 Thessalonians 5:11.
So this kind of goes along with like that phrase where they say to lavish praise in public, but then criticize
private.
In private, yes. So that.
I'm just kidding.
No, I know, but the point is that like you would build people up in front of others to build their self-esteem, but also to because you want to bring out the best in others. And I don't always do that. I know that. But it makes sense to call out the good because you want your spouse to feel like the stuff that they do matters. Again, kind of going back to the community, like the first part.
Yeah.
But also calling out the good, like re-emphasizing to that person that, hey, they do good things. I think the reason maybe for that is because it's so easy to catch the negative things that people do. And it's really easy to criticize. It's really easy to be like, oh, you always do this, or you mess up all the time, or, the bad stuff, we catch that so easy. So when someone does something good and it goes unnoticed, like, then they feel like, what's the point of even trying if nobody notices anyway?
Well, and the bad, when you criticize, it's easy to stay fixated on that thing instead of, it's like you see the one bad over the 100 good.
Sure.
So, and I think like for me in the past, it's been something that I'll fixate on and be like, well, they did this and it's horrible. And it's like, yeah, but they're doing all this good stuff. And it's like, yeah, but they did that.
Have you heard I think it's a statistic. I'm sure, I don't know. You trust everything on the internet, according to Abe Lincoln, but
Such a scholar.
it's that like one negative remark, you have to basically give 10 positive remarks to outweigh one negative remark. Like that's the significance or the impact of negative comments. Like it can cut you. I remember being like on YouTube and reading some comments that people would leave, and it just like cut me down. And I would read like tons of
bad
positive things, and people are like, "Oh, thanks for the videos, thanks for the advice, whatever." And it's like, yeah, that's great. But this guy said I suck. Like, and so it's it's so cutting. So I think they say to lavish because you have to basically wash that out because it's so easy to criticize. What did you want the background to be?
I don't know. I said a bookcase with our logo.
Just literally superimposed right on top.
I was gonna chat. I was gonna make an image.
I could do an image or a video. So
anyway. That made me think of, and I probably shouldn't do this. It made me think of a Parks and Rec episode.
Why?
When Leslie was running for office, and there was like this one guy in there, like what is it when they had
the town hall?
No, they have the groups where they ask
focus groups.
Yeah, and they were asking what they thought about her, and he was like, he had like negative things to say, and so she threw like a bowling party.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, and like the whole night she was only focused on that one guy and not like all of her supporters.
And even after a bowling with him or whatever, he's still like a jibber. Yeah.
That's sorry. I don't. That's what it made me
guy
think
from
of.
TV. No,
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know actors.
Anyway.
But this, I don't know if you notice this, how often I tell you like, hey, I really appreciate that you did this this weekend, or that you did this week. Like I want to make sure that you feel appreciated, because I feel like if we don't state those things, then it's easy for us to feel like we're not, like we're not being noticed.
Yeah.
And again, it's the one remark over the 100. So I don't know. I think that was really important. I like in premarital, they have to give each other like a
compliment.
A compliment. Yeah. Because it makes it makes you refocus on the good of your partner, especially if you're going through like a really rough time and you've been focusing on the negative and you guys are fighting a lot. Like, oh, maybe that's like a good thing when we're fighting next time. We're just going to stop and say something nice about the other person.
If I remember.
I'm not going to remember. Because we don't fight, babe. That's not.
We just have disagreements.
They're arguments.
Heated disagreements.
We're going to argue over whether it's
agree to disagree
or an argument.
Agree to argue.
Oh my gosh.
Or not argue.
All right. I'm going to skip one because I'll go back to it, but we already brought this one up. It's skip the criticism. Criticism tears down, but gentleness makes space for connection. Instead of criticizing, try curiosity. So like, why do you do those things?
Well, what is the second part to it?
It says, let your speech always be gracious, Colossians 4:6.
No, the second part of that phrase.
What's really going on underneath.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we kind of touched about this like in our premarital. So my wife and I, we might have said this in other videos, but we do premarital through our church for couples that are going to get married through the church. But that's always kind of been something even that we just told our most recent couple. Like generally when you're arguing, there's something deeper under the surface that's really going on that's not being said.
Yeah.
So skipping the criticism, generally we criticize about a surface level thing, but there's something deeper than that. And I think that is a good point, whether it's AI or not. that, they're whatever you're arguing about or whatever you're criticizing someone about, there's really something else underneath that's driving that anger.
Well, you could even be projecting onto
Sure.
your spouse or your partner. Like you could be
Like deflecting your own issues that you
Yeah.
don't want to address.
So like and especially if you're in sin, it is so easy to blame shift and start looking at the negative in your partner.
Yeah. Because you don't want to confront your own inadequacies.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen it.
Yeah.
We also see that in other people that we know that, we try to speak into them and they start getting defensive. It's like, why are you defensive? I'm trying to help you. So why are you getting defensive about it? So I don't think that you can always not criticize. And I think we're going to come back to that. But I do think as a general rule, there's a better way to
Yeah.
approach criticism. So I don't think that you could ever not, because this kind of plays into the whole biblical thing of don't judge me. Don't judge me. It's like, I'm not trying to judge you. I'm trying to point something out for your own good.
Yes.
And so, if you're criticizing, it should not be a cut down. It should not be like you're cutting them down to teach them a lesson or to be right. It should be like, hey, you've been doing this and I've noticed it. It's not beneficial for you or for anyone else, and then bringing it up that way. So I think that there is a time and a place to criticize where it's more constructive criticism. So I think that criticism itself gets a bad rap, and I do think we should criticize. I don't think we should cut down.
Yeah.
But I think we can constructively give people feedback based on certain things, especially if we're trying to do it in a loving way. That's my take. You could maybe disagree with that. I don't know.
I think the only thing to disagree with is calling it criticism.
Okay.
Maybe. Because if we're speaking it, like if we're in love, helping someone see what they're walking through, like I don't think that that's really criticism. So, and I like how it says like try curiosity, because it's so easy to just look at it on the surface level and not want to get. That's why, like what you were saying about sometimes there's something deeper. It's easy to stay at the surface level and not get to like the root of the issue.
I mean, I would still say it is criticism. Only looking at the word critic, like movie critics or food critics, they're pointing out inefficiencies in that thing. It's not that they hate the thing. In fact, they're pointing it out in hopes that whoever saw it or made it or whoever would maybe learn from those things. So I think that criticism is valid and that the word is. It's fine if we don't agree.
No, we're not allowed to disagree. We're married. We agree on everything.
Nope.
Nope.
And that's a lesson for another day.
Yeah, it is. Because we don't agree on a lot of stuff. All right. Speak honestly and kindly. Use I statements to express your needs without pointing fingers. I like the whole when you point fingers, there's a whole like fist of them pointing back at you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, technically you're pointing two at them because your thumb is pointing two. So, yeah.
Well, the thumb is up, or mine is.
What are you shooting them? Like that's
shooting my accusations.
Okay. It's okay.
So this is the assertive thing.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. You're using I statements. And I love this exercise when we're in premarital because it's helped us when we've been in arguments. It's helped us take a step back and be like, hey, we really need to. I'm wondering if I should finish reading it or finish what.
Oh, whatever.
Doing. Okay.
Yeah.
We really need to take a step back and look at like how we're each feeling, and we both need to speak with I statements instead of us pointing the finger at the other person. It's okay to be vulnerable, say what's on your heart, but say it with grace. So this is Ephesians 4:15, speak the truth in love. I have not always been good at this parts of it.
Mm-hmm.
I struggle with saying like what's on my mind because I feel like I'm not articulating it well, or it's not coming off the way that I want it to. You're going to take it wrong, or whoever I'm speaking with is going to take it wrong. Plus, I statements make me feel selfish, like I'm in the wrong for having those feelings. So going through premarital and walking other people through it and then using it in our own marriage has helped me feel more confident in the things that I say, that it's okay that I have opinions and it's okay that I have feelings. My feelings sometimes lie to me, but they're still...
You still have the feelings. They're not always...
the emotion lies, but the feelings...
Well, the feelings are valid, but why you're having them, yes, like...
Yeah.
You know, because...
You get what I'm...
Yes, a lot of
trying to
people
say.
think that just because I feel something, it's true.
Yeah.
But your feelings lie to you. Jeremiah says that the heart is desperately sick. Who can understand it? And one thing that's not on here about like the I statements. So maybe we can just talk about that just a little bit. Basically, the I statement is instead of saying you, like accusing someone, you're saying I feel. And you would say like, I feel like maybe you're not listening, or I feel like maybe, you know, I wish this would happen. So instead of saying you always do this, or, you know, you don't listen or whatever, you're basically making it more about what you feel like is going on so that it's less of an attack. But also you can be more confident because you say, I feel this way. Again, not that it's necessarily true, just that's what you're going through. So you can convey at least where you're at, like kind of to set a baseline for the other person.
I think this is one we've kind of had to work through because a trigger statement for me after expressing I statements is, well, you just made that about you. And it's one of the reasons why I don't like stating how I feel, because I'm in the back of my head that statement is going to be spoken back to me, if that makes sense.
Like used as a weapon.
Yes. And we've actually had to work through that, and because I've had to tell you how that statement has made me feel in the past. But I think, especially when we have dumb arguments, going back to...
You mean disagreements?
Oh my God. When we have dumb disagreements.
Dude, that's illiterate.
And saying... Are you good?
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah. Waiting for you.
I don't know where I was going with that, so you can...
You said dumb disagreement.
Yep, and then my brain just was caught on your smile, so... I'm good. Do you have anything else for that one?
No, essentially the whole point of it's
assertiveness without being aggressive.
Yes. So you have confidence to say what you feel like or what you think, and you can convey things without attacking, essentially. Like you can specify what you think you need or feel without attacking the other person and saying you. So it just is a less offensive way to communicate what you're thinking or feeling. That's it.
Okay, we did that one. So if you need to correct, wrap it in encouragement. Start with something positive, then offer gentle correction.
What you always say. You always say that sandwich, but there's only two parts.
It's a gentle...
It's avocado toast.
Avocado toast. Because it should be a sandwich. Because it says wrap it in encouragement. So it's a burrito.
Yeah, but then
because you need a compliment on the outside. No, because if it's a burrito, your insult is on the inside, but your compliment's on the outside.
All right.
See, wrapped in encouragement. And a wrap is like a burrito.
Yeah. It's usually more than one ingredient in there, but all right.
You want to affirm first. Then invite change. Kindness keeps the door open. In Proverbs 16:24. Gracious words.
Policy, got it.
Gracious words are a honeycomb sweet to the soul. What's wrong with you?
Proverbs 10:24, right?
That was 16:24.
I said I couldn't read it.
Now I want to read 10:24.
No,
You're distracting me.
So gracious words, something, honey, or something.
Start with something positive, then offer gentle correction.
Cheerios.
Do you ever do this?
No, I don't think I do. correct with encouragement? No. So what I have come to do when I have to provide correction, if I'm in a good, like if I'm approaching it correctly, because I mean sometimes emotions, you, you say things that you should not say in the moment. But anyway, when I properly approach it, I will basically approach it as, "Hey, I noticed."
Yeah.
That is like that has kind of become my default, especially with my people at work. Um, I'll say, "Hey, I noticed that the paperwork's not getting done. Um, I really need this to get done. Generally, I noticed that you've done it better in the past. Let's try to get back to that level. If it's with the kids, hey, I noticed your grades are slipping. We need to make sure that we turn these assignments in because you're only affecting your own future. So, you want to do it. So, trying to approach it as I noticed helps me not attack them because in the past, especially like volunteering at the church, I get defensive because I care about the ministry. So I get defensive when people just messed up over and over again because it almost felt like they didn't care. And maybe they did, maybe they didn't, maybe they just knew, whatever. But I would get defensive and be like, you're not doing this right. And then as soon as you do that, they shut off, they're checked out. So for me, I don't know that I would do a compliment sandwich or burrito or whatever you want to call it. It's more of, hey, I noticed this, and coming at it with a for your best interest. Just
Yeah.
kind of keeping that attitude. This is all in their best interest has helped me to be able to have difficult conversations with people without, attacking them. For the
Yeah.
most part.
So I guess for me, I like to provide a why behind it. Like if I'm asking for change, this is why we
Yeah.
would
I see
like
that
to
in the
do it this
emails
way.
that I actually read from you.
That I put a why behind things.
Because I always read the emails.
I think it's because it's important for people to understand the why. One, it helps me be like, okay, I already told them why. This is why I'm doing it. Like it's already out there. Like I don't have to defend my position. I already told them.
Yeah.
But it's also allowing them, it's the whole casting vision. Like people are going to get behind you if you're able to cast the vision. So if there's something that needs to be changed and we can show the why not? But I struggle with the compliment, especially because the whole I can fixate on the bad so much that it's easy for me to overlook the good. So I have to mentally prepare myself and think of, okay, well, they're doing this good. They're doing this good. I need them to fix this. They're doing this good. They're doing this good. Like in my mind, so that I'm not going in with the
You're only
criticism.
focusing on the one
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. And you're right. Like having at least something to bring up that they're doing well does help because again, it's so easy to overlook the positive things that
Yeah.
people do. So if you can provide that to them, it just validates that they are noticed, at least to some degree. And a lot of people just need that. They need that validate. Hey, I noticed that you guys are really doing a good job on this. We should work on this because, we want whatever outcome.
Yeah.
But you're right. Vision casting is also very important, right? There's no vision, the people will perish. So, yeah, and I know that you're big on that, having like a vision for things and trying to get people to understand why you're doing. Doesn't mean they'll always get on board, but at least they know your headspace and why you're doing things. And like you said, if you have a reason why, even if they do come back on it,
Yeah.
like, well, I understand, your kind of attitude about this or your, whatever. Like, but we're doing this because of X, Y, Z, and it gives you kind of a ground to stand on. So I think that's also important.
Well, it's also like people think that decisions are made without any thought put into it.
Sure.
And I'm a worrier sometimes. I know I shouldn't be, but it happens. But it's my anxiety will keep me fixated on a problem until I can find the solution. So I think it's important for the vision casting, but also the why behind, because a lot of people think that when we make decisions, and this goes to like our kids, us, like when we make a decision for something, when I make a decision at work, that we're just making decisions just to make decisions. We're not considering, and I tend to think of all sides of how people are going to view things because
Like Michael Scott, 100 different ways
100
from
different
their perspective
Sure.
and your perspective and 98 other perspectives.
Yeah, but only one of them was the right one. Oh, why you gotta distract me? Um, I I tend to think of the ways, but I tend to think of the ways it could go wrong, so that I can work backwards from it going wrong
Mhm.
to try to be like, nah, it'll go good if we do it this way.
Yeah.
Because if we do it a different way, it'll go wrong. Anyways, um, and the vision casting helps me put like the why behind it, so that people don't. They just assume I'm just making decisions instead of there's a why behind. And working with volunteers and guests, I want to look at it from how do our volunteers benefit from this and how do our guests benefit from this? And then in our marriage, it's, well, really, how are you going to benefit from it? Because I want to make sure that you're happy. And then by you being happy, I'll be happy. Right? Is
Sure.
that how that works?
I don't know. I just try to look out for you.
You want to look out?
Yeah. Well,
I think I went on a tangent there and wrapped it up in no way that made sense.
yeah, it'll be all right.
Yeah. All right. We're going to listen to understand, not to win. Because it's not about someone always being right.
Someone's right and someone's wrong.
Listening isn't about waiting for your turn to talk. It's about really hearing their hearts. So seek to understand before you respond. This goes back to the whole
Being slow to speak.
yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Fools find no pleasure in understanding, but delight in airing their own opinions. Proverbs 18:2. That's a good.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it's true. Like, so this kind of goes with the whole formulating an opinion or,
a response. Yeah.
before actually kind of internalizing what they're saying. I think this also kind of goes with guys being problem solvers, generally speaking. And so as their wife is telling them things, you're like, well, we could do this. You can leave your job right now. I'll burn that building down. We'll cut them off. Right. So it's like, we get defensive for you.
I know.
Right.
Yep.
Because we care. But a lot of times you're not necessarily telling us to have us solve a problem. You're trying to just kind of work through something and need someone to hear you or to maybe, bounce off ideas, but not jump to conclusions.
Yes.
So I think that obviously goes with the previous point of listening, fully, but also listening to hear what they're saying as opposed to just listening to be able to respond. Is that?
Yeah. I think that's really important. One of the things that we've had to communicate with each other is I don't need solving of this problem. I need you to just hear so I get it off my chest. Because if it's still in here, I'm going to fixate on it and it's going to become an anxious problem.
Because it's unresolved conflict.
Yes.
So you're just going to keep thinking about it until it's resolved.
Yes. And sometimes just talking it out, it will get me to the point of, well, it's gone.
Yeah.
Like,
Or it's not as big a deal as it was in your head.
Or I completely overreacted and shouldn't have. Like that's sometimes I just need to work it out. Oh my God.
But yes, but I think, yes, like sometimes, and I want to jump to your aid.
Yeah.
So you'll tell me something like, no, we're done. This is over. You're like, okay, well, it's not.
And when you tell me things, I'm just like, oh, how does that make you feel? Like,
Yeah. I want you to burn something with.
do you want me to burn things down?
Okay.
What? No.
Oh. Yeah.
Can we just
Nope.
fire in the backyard and just burn things? That'll make you happy. All right. Are you good with that one?
Yeah.
Okay. Practice active listening. Repeat what you heard to make sure you got it right before sharing your thoughts. It sounds simple, but it goes a long way in helping your partner feel truly heard.
Thanks, ChatGPT.
Let every person be quick to hear, James 1:19. Oh, because it says, again, worth repeating. I know when we do this as our exercise in premarital, it is so uncomfortable for people who don't have communication skills. For those that have like some basis for communication, it doesn't seem like this activity is too hard for them. It's the ones that have like no communication.
Very low scores.
Because one, they're having to be assertive in telling their partner what they want. And then two, the listening back, there's two types of people that I feel like maybe three. One of them, they'll repeat back exactly what their partner said, exactly how their partner said it. Other ones are somehow rearranging all those words in their head and saying some sentence that was nothing like what their partner said. And it's like,
well, and then you have the other person that's like, yeah, I guess that's close enough. And it's like, no, we're trying to get you to understand, like, this is what creates conflict. This is what creates meaningless arguments. Is not being on the same page.
You're not getting the gist of it. You want to get the full thing, because the gist of it is you're technically not really hearing them then. So I love being able to say back, like, well, I think this is what you're saying, especially because I get it wrong most of the time because I have a horrible memory. So he'll start talking and I'll be like, in 2 seconds, I don't remember what we just talked about.
I mean, and we don't go to that length usually of, I think I heard what you said was, however, just clarifying the message. Okay, so to be clear, on Saturday, you want to do this at 1 p.m., whatever, right? Or you want to approach the situation this way. Like the conversation we had last night, like, okay, so you want to do this to handle this situation? Yes. Okay, good. So just kind of repeating it back to make sure that you're on the same page. And I hope in the videos we go over this some more, but it's the one thing that like I try to hammer home with our premarital couples, being on the same page. That is all you're trying to do.
That's our next one.
Okay. So essentially, we're going to go.
You're going to go right into
it. See, I know.
I know. Right, Josh, yeah. You could have wrote these.
Yeah, I could have. I didn't. But essentially, like the whole point of like marriage, of working through things, is trying to get to the same page. That's it. Like it's people overcomplicate it, and I'm not saying it's not complex, but they overcomplicate. And so it's essentially like you're working together to be on the same page. You're two people on two different paths, kind of going in the same direction, but essentially you're trying to line up as much as possible to be on the same page. It's like, okay, we don't always agree on everything, but it's like, all right, where can we meet in the middle? Where can we either compromise or make a sacrifice or try to get to the same place from where we're both starting from? And in doing that, like listening and being assertive and all this other jazz, like you're trying to move, like you're these two tributaries that are moving into the same river.
Nope. Now you got to tell me what it means.
A tributary.
What is that?
It's like a small running body of water. So like you'd have like a river, then a stream, then a tributary.
I'm gonna start calling you milkshake.
Don't go chase.
Please,
that's I get copyrighted.
Yeah, please don't.
Well, I got the words wrong anyway.
You're already talking about it, so it's not a you versus me kind of thing. Yeah, it's not a you versus me kind of thing. We are on the same team. I think a lot of people. Okay, I have a couple examples.
Sure.
This goes back to like when you get married, you're still two individuals, but you are on a team, and you cannot fight against your own team. Like it's just going to create chaos. Imagine if you're like on a sports team and you're scoring for the other team because all you're doing
scoring your own goal.
Yeah, you're like upset with your. Oh my gosh, that's like the Office episode where he's like, I was wide open. Anyways, I'm gonna lose all my train of thought. This is your favorite verse. However, it is not the Christmas verse.
Yeah, that's my mnemonic, so it's easier for me to remember. But it is
this one's Mark 3:25.
You can share that.
So a house divided against itself cannot stand.
It's actually cleaner than the other one. I may as well just start using that one.
It doesn't matter. I love this verse.
Yes.
We use it for so many things because, I mean, if you think about it, like if we were divided in things all the time, how would we be able to stand with each other?
And like, so the verse I usually use is Matthew 12:25, because it says that, a city or a house divided cannot stand. But it's also just easier to remember because it's the Matthew Christmas verse, 12:25. But essentially the point is that, like, if you're arguing with your spouse, like if this isn't good or it's not solid, it's going to affect other relationships. It's going to affect your kids if you have kids. Like, it affects a lot of things. And this has to be good for your relationship with your kids to be good, because your kids are growing up seeing how you treat your spouse. And so if you're not good with your spouse, if you can't, even if you argue, if you can't come to a consensus where you're like, okay, let's put this behind us, let's get to the bottom of it, let's resolve it, then they're going to take that into their own relationships. I mean, as much as we like to admit or not admit, we are products of our parents. So we have some level of what our parents did before us in us. And so if that's the case, we want our kids to adopt as much possible good from that. And our own kids have even seen in us, like our relationship, like a lot of the good that is in our relationship. And, they don't always see that in their own,
Yeah.
but we want to set that example. Like, we are openly like, we'll hug, kiss, we're affectionate. We try to resolve things in front of them. We try to show each other that, like, hey, I love you, do things for each other, make sacrifices. Try to show all that stuff for our kids so that they know what real, true, authentic, God fearing love looks like. So, yeah, house divided cannot stand.
Right.
Did you have anything?
There's just so much more to that. Like
Sure.
it's a lot to unpack just that one and how much like we're still gonna not always agree on
Yeah,
everything, but that doesn't mean that we allow those things to come between us.
sure.
And I think there's certain things that we can't like we have to agree on because if we
Yes.
don't agree on those things, then this won't work
Mhm.
at all. Um, but there's other things that it's like, no, you're allowed to have your own opinion because we're not the same person. Um,
It's like, as long as we agree on how we approach the kids and how we believe, view God, and how we want to basically shepherd our family, then those are the kind of the important thing. There's certain things that we don't agree with ideologically or religiously, or, there are certain things that we just don't necessarily agree on. But we can work together despite that and try to come to some kind of compromise where it's like, okay, well, we're going to approach this way, and we're going to, maybe we try it this way for a while. Doesn't work. Then we try it your way. So there's got to be some kind of give and take, either compromise, give and take, sacrifice, whatever it takes to try to be on the same page. Because again, it affects a lot of other things.
that just makes me think of the verse about being equally yoked.
Yeah.
Because like you brought up religion and how like there are some things that we religiously don't agree with, but we are equally yoked when it comes to our faith.
Yeah.
So,
And then we both believe that Jesus Christ died for our sins,
Mhm.
rose again 3 days later, and was the Son of God. So, like, if we can agree on,
The Son of God. And you-
sure, yeah, um, we can, a lot of smaller, trivial things we can kind of work with. So,
Yeah, like wearing pants. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, I was watching a Mike Winger video today and we were talking about wearing pants.
don't ever,
Wear pants. Oh my gosh, calm down.
you don't have to wear pants around me.
Use a respectable process for ongoing issues. Um, some things keep coming up because they matter. Don't ignore them. Work through them with grace. And 1 Corinthians 16:14 is let all you do be done in love. Let all that you do be done in love.
Oh, because this is the resolving conflict.
Yes.
So then, I don't know if we should talk about that specific thing.
No. I skipped
Yeah,
part.
but essentially, it just comes down to like resolving conflict. Is ongoing issues arise because there's unresolved conflict.
Yeah.
Um, I talk about this a lot in our premarital, but like my parents are a prime example of this. I love them to death. I love both my stepdad and my mom very much, and I have a much better relationship with them now than I did when I was younger. But one thing that I grew up in was just a palpable tension because they had a lot of unresolved conflict. They would just argue about things and nothing was ever truly resolved. My dad would like go off to work, my mom would go off and do her own thing. And it just happened day after day after day. And so there was just always a constant state of tension. And growing up in that, I became kind of conflict adverse, like unresolved conflict adverse, like where I want to work through conflict. I'm not afraid of conflict. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't like conflict. It's like, okay, but one, that's how you grow. But two, that's how you get through things and build that connection. That's how you forge a relationship is working, not avoiding conflict, but working through it. And it's also been detrimental because sometimes I'm like, no, we need to work through this. And maybe it's not the best time,
Yes.
or I'm very aggressive, like, no, we're going to do this. But my point out of that is like, if you don't resolve conflict, it just keeps creating problems because you're sweeping things under the rug or you're treating a symptom rather than the root cause.
Well, and that issue will come back.
Yeah.
Like it will get brought up again.
Yeah.
And because there's no true conflict resolution, um, your arguments will tend to like that will become a root.
Like we were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
a lot of arguments are based on it's a surface level thing with a deeper thing
Yeah.
under it. And so if you don't attack, the root, then if you're just trimming the weed, but you're not pulling the root,
Yeah.
then it just keeps growing back and growing back and growing back. So that's why all of this is so important because you have to be able to first communicate. And I guess I've never really kind of put all this distilled into one thing. But yeah, if you can't express how you're feeling and you
Yeah.
can't listen to the other person, conflict resolution is going to be even that much harder.
Yes.
So you have to get to the point where you can be honest with each other. You can state how you feel and not attack, but also be able to listen to criticism. That is something I openly have talked about struggling with is criticism. And it's not that I don't want to grow or be corrected. It's just sometimes it facing the truth hurts.
Yeah.
And I think this is why so many people are, they don't want to admit the truth. They don't want to be wrong because it stings, right? But killing the ego is like what humbles us and gets us closer to God. Pride is a separation from God. So really it comes down to, this conflict resolution, like getting to the heart of a matter without attacking or making the other person feel like they're just always wrong, that they're the bad person or whatever.
And there's some good things like to consider when you're going into conflict resolution, like making sure that you pick a time that is reasonable and you're not doing it as one of you is getting into bed, or both of you. No,
I am gonna
no,
we get you.
you don't do it during intimate time. That is not when you should be solving.
I don't know if you're saying that, but we've had some fun times resolving some conflict, working it out. You know what I mean? But I say that in jest. But sex is not an excuse or a way to avoid conflict.
No,
It
it's
is
not.
not. So, like, I joke about that because we have argued while being intimate.
We've also resolved conflict
Yes.
while being intimate.
But that is different than using that intimacy
Yes.
as a reason to avoid conflict.
Yeah.
Because some people will argue or they'll do that in lieu of actually getting to the problem. I would say it's almost like dessert. You work through it and then you do stuff because you're excited you worked through it. So it's almost like a reward. Like, hey, we got through this. All right. Well, let's celebrate. I'm just saying.
Now I'm distracted. Okay. So I was gonna say also, making sure that you're not avoiding it. So agreeing that you're gonna come back to the issue because if one of you is a hothead and you need time to kind of cool down before you go into the trying to resolve it, you both have to agree that you're gonna come back to it. Because if you just say, oh, I need time, and then you never come back to it,
Sure.
that's going to make your spouse feel like they don't matter enough to you to resolve
Yeah.
the actual issues. And then I'm trying to think. So it's pick a specific time to do it. Make sure that if you're taking a time out, you agree to come back to it. And then try different solutions. Like talk about different ways that you could resolve the issue and n- nothing's out of bounds. Like you can throw all kinds of weird things out there. Like, let's move to the moon. We don't have to deal with this. No, I mean like
I know.
throw some absurd. Oh yes, I guess.
Healthy.
Okay, yes. Throw some absurd
approaches.
ones out there, but no, like be reasonable when you actually agree on a solution because you want to make sure that what you're both trying to do is agree on a solution.
Yeah.
So,
And one thing that came to mind is it's key to remember is that you're attacking the problem, not the person. So like it it's so easy to get caught up in attacking what the person did, like you did this, you did that. But really, again, the reason you're having conflict is because there's something deeper that you're not both aligned with.
yeah.
So if you're focusing on, hey, you know what? Again, going back to our earlier thing, we're on the same team here. Let's focus on this issue and let's come together on a solution to solving this issue, not, you always do this and I'm right and you're wrong. It's okay. Clearly, there's an issue between us. We need to solve this so that it doesn't keep coming out. So,
I just thought of something. What if you wrote it down on a piece of paper and you put it like on a table in front of you? So you're talking at the solution or you're talking at the problem
yeah.
instead of directing that anger about the problem towards the other person. Then you're like angry at the paper and then you burn the paper.
I know that some of the videos we watched, they talk about having a balloon
A balloon.
or an
Yeah.
item, like a tote,
Yeah.
basically, that you're talking about that thing as if that is the issue. So it's a representation of the issue. And you either put it between you or you put it aside. But you're basically
Not between you.
Oh,
It goes in front of you because the problem is here, not between the two of you.
so then
Yeah.
yeah. So basically that thing is a representation of the issue. Oh, okay. Our issue is that, maybe we don't agree on how to spend money or it's how to
Yeah.
raise the kids or whatever. Now that thing becomes a representation. Okay, now we can talk together as a team about that thing. And now it's not you versus me.
Yeah.
The house divided, all of that.
Okay, the last one is don't be afraid to ask for help. Seeing a counselor isn't failure, it's wisdom. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do for your marriage is to invite someone in professionally to help you work through your problems. I'm not leaving it at the way that ended
Yeah.
because that was weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Proverbs 15:22. Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed. I think that this is one and I know we talk about this at church, is don't wait until there's a problem to seek counseling. Like it's healthy for you to just see a therapist or a counselor before there's an actual problem. One, you already have the baseline so that when a problem arises, now you can work on the problem and they already have an idea of
Sure.
who you are. I know for us, it was we hit a wall with our kids. And it started to affect us, and that's why we had to seek counseling. But
And I didn't even want to. You're talking about the one that we have
a
now?
therapist, yeah.
And I didn't even want to see her initially because I'm like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
But after seeing her a few times, I'm like, okay, yeah, I mean, she does have some legitimate things to talk about. And now I'm like, okay, she's cool. But
You still go back and forth.
well, I don't want to go. I don't mind her. I just don't want to go.
Yeah.
Just to clarify.
Yes. Okay.
But essentially, like, again, not being able to ask for help if things are ongoing and you yourselves have tried things and it's just not working. Getting outside help is not you should not be ashamed of it. You should not feel like, oh, we failed because we couldn't resolve this together. Sometimes the problem is that we think of things the same way every time. So we approach things in a very similar fashion to how we've approached them before. So what getting an outside perspective gives you is a new way to approach the same problems you're having And so, she's had genuine questions that I've never thought about. Well, why did this happen? Or why, have you thought about doing this? Or have you considered this? Whatever. So sometimes that outside perspective just breaks you out of your box that you're in of saying things a certain way every time. And so sometimes it can be beneficial because, you just get some outside input.
Well, it also makes me think of, and I heard this on a video today too, but I've heard this multiple times because it's happened to us. You can say the same thing to your spouse over and over again. And a stranger can come up and say the same thing to your spouse one time, twice, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, I never thought of it that way. And it's like, I've been telling you that for 20 years.
Yeah.
Like, so sometimes it helps to bring that extra person in to get another look at, and also maybe both of your solutions to whatever the problem is are completely irrational for where you're at. And you need a third party to tell you both that that's an irrational solution.
Or maybe it's just not the right time.
Yeah.
Or, the approaches might work in other times or for
Yeah.
other people, but it's just not working for you. So getting, maybe an alternate approach from someone who's maybe more experienced too, who deals with multiple couples because you're only seeing your spouse. But, if you have like a counselor, a therapist, whatever, like they're going to see dozens, hundreds of people. So, they would probably have a better scope of what works.
But I also think this is why it's important for us to have other married couple friends that are either they've been married longer than us, they've just been through life a little bit more than us. It's important to have those so that when we do walk through things, we're able to lean on them and have them walk through it with us. And then, like, if you're in a church, join a small group because that's like another good way to try to. You're not trying to take over the group with your problems, but you can at least be involved with your small group leader to try to.
You can find people to just encourage you because sometimes you just get isolated in your marriage and you don't have other people who you think you're only going through this one thing by yourself, but other people have been through it or are going through it, and it can kind of encourage you, but also you can share that information. So, yeah, I mean, that's why we should be meeting together as Christians, but I think that's pretty much all I had.
That was good. Communication is one of our favorite things to kind of touch on. And then making sure that it's growing you together as a couple is really important for us. And communication for us is key to our relationship because there was a time when we did not communicate with each other. So, yeah.
Cool. I guess I'll pray. Close this out. All right. Father, we just we thank you for any person that made it this far. Probably like 1% of viewers, but I'm grateful, and I just pray that if anyone saw anything that they could take away from this video, that they would. Then I pray that anything that stands out to them would be of you, not of us. We just share our experiences and our thought process, but ultimately, Lord, we want you to be glorified in all of this. I pray for any person, any marriage that is, any set of people that are watching this. I pray that you would bless them. And I pray that anything that has been said would stick out, that they would be able to apply to their marriage and see success in. Again, not because of us, but because of you. I pray that you would go forth through the hearts of the people listening and just soften them, that they would have a new heart of flesh and not stone towards their spouse and be able to forgive them, to be able to humbly come before them and just be that person that wants to understand them, but also give them the confidence. We don't have a spirit of timidity or fear, but of power, love, and self-discipline. Sorry. So I just pray that they would have that, the courage to say what they feel without attacking. So I just pray for all of these things, that you would continue to bless anyone who heard this, and that you would be able to bless those marriages and just grow them closer to you. Ultimately, we just want to serve you with our marriage, and we just want you to be glorified and honored by it. And we just thank you for everything you do. We praise you in your name, Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay. What?
Bonus content.
Oh.
I thought of one we didn't think about.
Okay.
That wasn't on there. Thank you, ChatGPT. Praying together is a huge. No.
Okay.
For communication, especially conflict resolution.
Sure.
Pray. take some time to pray about the issue that you're having. If communication is an issue with you, y'all need to be praying together. So yeah, that'll lead into our next video.
Ditto.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Bye.